An update for you. Earlier this month, Justin Thomas, remember, made a homophobic slur while playing in the Sentry Tournament of Champions. Thomas apologized, telling Golf Channel that his actions were inexcusable. He was subsequently dropped by Ralph Lauren as a result. However, another one of Thomas's sponsors, Citi, is taking a different approach. In a blog post on Monday, the investment bank wrote that they had, quote, considered terminating their relationship with Thomas, but instead decided to use this moment to work with him to try to create change. The post went on to say that the language was beyond offensive and in sharp contrast to what they stand for as a company. As a result of his actions, Citi will work with Justin to use his platform to play an active role in accelerating support for the LGBTQ community and to increase awareness of the discrimination this community continues to face. In addition, he'll donate a meaningful portion of his Citi 2021 sponsorship fee to mutually agreed upon LGBTQ organizations. And with that, we go to back to our panel of commentators for some perspective on this. Let me start with Eamon on this one. Eamon, how does this strike you?
I think, Jimmy, this seems to sit somewhere in that gray area between concrete steps and mere posturing, because the language here is really quite insipid. When you talk about what is meaningful, well, who's going to determine what is a meaningful portion? Is that JT? Is it Citi? Is it the groups he works with? And the statement went on to say that it would be terminated if it did not feel as though JT was making a sincere effort. Well, what metric are we going to use to determine a man's sincerity in a case like this? And I think there was a notable absence of any comment from Justin Thomas himself in that. So I'm not sure if that was set up as an internal communication at Citi that was a good faith effort, or if it was an exercise in scolding. It's one or the other. It's a better example, I think, than was set in the Ralph Lauren case, because at least it is indicating that there's a potential for, I don't want to use the word rehabilitation, but some kind of better statement that can be made here moving forward than was made previously.
Jaime, what about you? How does this strike you?
Well, I think it's a good step to make a grand public gesture at this point. Certainly, there's plenty of room for skepticism, but I think JT initially, made a good impression in terms of taking it on very personally and saying he was very sincerely sorry. I think that set the road for something like this to have credibility. You know, he was a young guy. He is a young guy who's looking to get better. We make a lot of mistakes in our 20s. And I think people can relate to that. I also think it's an opportunity for Citibank, for any corporation, to look progressive in a moment of time when the culture is changing very rapidly. So I don't begrudge them their opportunity to make a public statement as well. Again, these things obviously are business-oriented, but there's also an effect in the society every time something like this happens, and I think overall it's a positive step.
You know, this is obviously a mistake that is going to follow Justin Thomas for a long time, Eamon, but not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, Justin Thomas is a superb global ambassador of this game. So many youngsters look up to him. And if he's starting to sort of openly speak out about the LGBTQ community and sort of kids being able to identify that, you know, it's nothing to be ashamed of and golf embraces that community, this could really kind of turn around into a positive thing. And JT could be opening doors for people that we never expected that he could.
That's true, Anna, and I think it will follow him, but it shouldn't follow him for very long, because he has at least owned up to the mistake that he made here. His apology in Hawaii to Todd Lewis was heartfelt, it was very sincere, and he's repeated it multiple times since. And I actually think it's a positive that he's not out there on some kind of apology tour right now, that whatever he's doing, he's taking the time to figure it out himself. But I think it bears noting here, guys, that this is not a one-way direction here in terms of sending the right message, because 2 years ago, Citibank stood by its decision to sponsor an award for the homophobic president of Brazil. So there is a lesson to be learned here, but it takes brazen hypocrisy to suggest that Justin Thomas is the only person who has got a lesson to learn.
Well, this has certainly been an unusual year, not only in sports, not only in golf, but certainly across the world. We'll have to wait and see what comes of all of this.